Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses, and I'm your host, Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center. For more than 20 years, 2 decades now, I've been working with accounting professionals to actually help them start, build, and operate successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses, building what I refer to as the premier accounting firm in their area, offering quality accounting services, and most importantly, getting paid what they're worth. It's here on the show that we actually bring on the experts. It's where we actually discuss things ranging from marketing, selling, pricing, tech stacks, mental health, so many things so as to not only get, but also retain your clients and get paid what you're worth. So each and every week we have a new guest, and today's going to be a wonderful discussion. I'm excited for this conversation. It's with Jeremy Van Groll. He happens to be the incorrigible financial nerd that was the founder and president of a nonprofit bookkeeping company. During his 20 years of experience, he has actually partnered with domestic and international organizations to implement efficient financial and data management processes that allow nonprofit leaders to actually focus on their efforts and on their missions to building relationships with donors. Now, with regards to this, he also enjoys geeking out on spreadsheets. Jeremy enjoys attending concerts, singing karaoke, and following sports, especially the soccer and gymnastic teams of his two sons. So, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Hey, I appreciate it, Roger. Good to see you again. Thank you
It's
so
a
much for having
pleasure.
me. Yeah.
This has been something I've been looking forward to. It's been long overdue, in fact.
Yeah, same. We got to talk at Intuit Connect. You were not there, but we were chatting then and had a little fun over it being Intuit Connect and connecting with Roger there too. So yeah, it was a good time.
Well, that's right, because you have a podcast yourself.
Correct.
And on that podcast, I was a guest. You were hosting it.
Yeah.
And it went phenomenally well. I enjoyed the conversation. I actually passed the quiz that you guys gave me. So that was nice.
With flying colors, and myself and Tyler, who hosted, we were having some technical difficulties. So you rolled with it well. And yeah, it was a great episode. We appreciate you were on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. And Tyler, he's a great guy. I love Tyler. So very good.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about you though for a minute. Give us an idea of what got you into accounting. Why become an accountant?
Yeah. So coming out of college, I actually landed at a banking institution and was doing credit management, right? And to me, like looking through collateral analysis and credit, I didn't really like, but when you went through and dug into the financial statements and did the spreading of that and like some of the ratio analysis, that's what really got me jazzed. So at that point I decided like, hey, I'm going to go for my master's in accounting, and kind of went all in with that. And it's been a blessing ever since, and been just about in about every single financial role you can have with an organization before starting this wonderful venture.
Before starting this wonderful adventure. So
Right.
here's the thing I want to ask. You were obviously successful, Fortune 100 accounting professional. Why start out on your own? Why become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I think a similar story as many, right? Like so many hours had to be put in for that, right? Kind of tied to your desk. I was starting a family, and it was really a toil on us personally as well. And but also like just a lot of short-sighted decisions by organizations to maximize shareholder value and not necessarily long-term focused. They want to make sure they make quarterly numbers and all of that. And then I actually was at a point where the organization that I was in got acquired, and I was actually retained to do a lot of the synergy calculations, which pretty much means who's losing their jobs and how much they're saving for that. And it just felt gross, right? So I wanted to get out of that. So I, as part of that role, negotiated, definitely not a golden parachute, but maybe a holy tin one that I got out of the organization with a little bit of a financial runway to start this. So it seemed like the right time, and went all in on it.
I love it. Now, when you took that tin offering,
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to know is you took it. What did your family think of your spouse as you're saying, you know what, I'm going to take this and go out on my own, start my own business? What was that discussion like?
Are you out of your damn mind? Yeah, no, like originally when I started it, I had been doing it for about a year or year and a half before this, kind of as a side gig. And that was my intent, is like, hey, I have extra time. I like doing this. I'm going to start doing this on the side. And then my wife was be sure to remind me, you said this was a side gig, right? And now you're thinking of jumping ship from, a 6-figure, very stable industry financial role into going out completely on your own, and the instability that could come from that. And I'm like, yeah, but I think I can do it. So I have this runway of still getting paid. Let's go in, let's see what we can do. And again, if it fails in a while, we'll pivot a different way. But it ended up going very well.
I love how you shared your story because so many of my listeners I know can relate because typically what it is many start having supplemented their income with
Mhm.
these side clients and so forth. And something comes along where they take what they're currently doing as their primary income and say, you know what, we're going to take that leap of faith. We're going to now go all in with the business and we're going to now transition. You had that limited runway that you were able to work with. Sometimes they're not afforded that. Sometimes their employment comes to an abrupt end. Either way, they actually take that supplemental income, double down on it, go in and really start something that they didn't really intend to see as it was a large organization for themselves. But for many of them, it becomes very successful, very profitable, very quickly. And so I like the story that you're sharing. Now, I know that you actually emphasized nonprofit. You chose to niche into that area. I'm curious, was that intentional at the beginning, or is that something that evolved over time?
Yeah, it was definitely something that evolved. So, like any other one starting in this, first you take anybody who can fog a mirror, right, and just get them in and start doing the things and figuring it out.
Yeah.
However, again, blessed, my wife has been in the nonprofit community, currently a director, a program director at the local Boys and Girls Club. So
Mm.
she had a network there already. And then, employee I used to work with at one of my prior roles was the treasurer on a board and said, "Hey, we're really looking for some better financial management. It's not getting the information we need. It's not cutting what we need to see from the organization right now as far as information. Would you love to give this a try?" So I kind of fell backwards into that one, figured it out, and realized so quickly that nonprofits are typically pretty behind the eight ball when it comes to new technology, efficient processes. Everybody there is wearing so many hats and just trying to do their best, and amazing people just trying to get a wonderful mission done. But the financial acumen and things just aren't there because they can't afford a full-time financial person, right?
Yes.
And it's a very direct skill set that a lot of people that are so passionate for certain activities do not have that, right? So it was amazing just coming into this organization initially and how quickly we were able to move the needle and get buy-in from everyone and get the information they were looking for and help them strategically plan for the future as well, which is something that they had never had before. And it just felt great afterwards. So I felt like talking to my wife, like, "Hey, I'm sitting here crunching numbers all day and kind of nerding out. I don't know if I'm ever going to get the feeling that you get." She was a social worker and now as a nonprofit director. "I don't know if I'm ever going to get that warm fuzzy with my role like you've had." And then I was able to do this, and I get that all the time, being able to just help out amazing organizations.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to just tap into.
Yeah.
What you're doing is indirectly, or even perhaps vicariously, tapping into their mission and contributing as best you can because now you're an essential part of their success. So, yes, they have a mission, they have a goal, there's something that they're striving towards, and you now directly are involved in that success. So, you actually get to benefit from multiple nonprofits and what they're doing.
Yeah, and it makes you sleep way better at night, right? We like to say that the nonprofits and their leaders are the heroes and we're the sidekick, right? We're going to make you guys shine. We're going to give you the tools financially for you to go out there and be as successful as possible and utilize the funds that you have, hopefully diversify them, and when you have them, utilize them as best possible to deliver on whatever it is you want to do. And it's just a great feeling that, again, I couldn't be happier where we landed.
I love it. I love it. So, from a marketing point of view, you made that transition to say, okay, we're going to niche into this. And
Yeah.
clearly, at the beginning, you were taking those that fog the mirrors. I get that,
Mhm.
but I'm curious, how did that decision of now we're going to go deep into the nonprofits? This is going to be our niche. What changed in your business when you actually got that clarity, and all of a sudden you were able to focus on nonprofits as you chose?
Yeah, I mean, like once, and I was at a Fortune 500 packaging company, so I had known nothing about nonprofits or fund accounting or all of the details that you need to be able to manage well as a financial leader in a nonprofit. But once you kind of flip that switch and just go all in on all of the things, there are several of the books that are probably behind me here that I just kind of dove in and be like, I need to start understanding all of these things, finding where these people are in the community and just connecting with them. Again, leveraging my wife and even in sales calls, right? It's like I'm married to a nonprofit program director who complains a lot that she doesn't have access to her budgetary numbers or clarity on where she's at with her program and if she can make the next hire. So I mean, like once you immerse yourself in it, it's just so much easier to learn the language, and it's not overnight, right? Like there was a lot of times where I said something stupid that for a for-profit company they would have been like, yeah, that really makes sense, and the nonprofit community just looking at me like, what are you talking about? So you make the mistakes, but it once you get there and just have it instilled in all the things you do, it just becomes second nature. And right away when you get on the calls, you can see everybody has their wall up right away. As soon as they start talking their language and understanding it, that comes down. You're building a relationship, and even if you're not the right fit, you're glad you made that connection and give them some advice that hopefully they can use, even if they're not moving forward with you.
I love how you've described this because you're right. Once you start niching, you're actually able to now dive into that vocabulary and become very familiar with the nuances of the industry. But share with my listeners what is unique about nonprofit accounting. There are a few things. As an accounting school, we actually
Yep.
teach nonprofit accounting. So there are a few particulars that are actually very important. Help my listeners understand what are some of those nuances.
Yeah, a lot of things, right? From the maybe less formal things to like it's not a income statement and a balance sheet; it's a statement of activities and a statement of financial position. So just from that side of just you're speaking the right language, because if you tell somebody who's deeply nonprofit, "Hey, I'm looking at the balance sheet," they're going to be like, "Wait, do you really know what you're talking about?" Right? So that kind of on the surface, but it goes down to donor restricted or board restricted funds. You have to be able to track that separately, both the dollars in and then dollars coming out, and ensure it's getting spent per the donor's wishes. So that takes another layer of information, kind of their own separate statement of activities or P&Ls that you have and maintain in the software. That and another thing, like all of nonprofits filings, once they get to a certain size, are public knowledge, right? So that you have to know and separate out program income that gets put on their 990, which is their tax filing, as well as a restricted I'm sorry, I'm big on the restricted sorry, I'm blanking on the word here. Functional statement of expenses. That's what I meant to say is like you need to be able to track all of their expenses by what's administrative, what goes directly to their programs, and what goes to fundraising. That is a requirement for all their filings. So to keep those separate so that the public can see, how much of their expenses that they make are going directly towards programmatic efforts versus administrative costs, and how much of their fundraising, like if they're spending $1 on fundraising, how much does that get in, that they're being very conscientious and good stewards of the donors' funds that are being provided.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is very important is just that vocabulary you shared a moment ago, but also
Yeah.
it's the perspective of the client. That director of the nonprofit wants to know that you understand their business model. So it's not just so much your ability to track and record the numbers. It's now presenting to them in a way that's useful because they don't see it as a profit and loss. So that's one of the things that I think is helpful there. Now, as for nonprofits, are you involved at all in the fundraising, in the generating of the contributions and so forth? Did you get involved in that with the accounting services that you offer?
So we do not directly do any fundraising, right? And I tell all of our clients, like, I would be your worst fundraiser, but I have thoughts, right? Is first of all, like there are methods that we've seen before that have worked well for people, right? But more importantly, me to support them financial in all their financial management, we need to know how they are getting the funds, how they need to be used, if there are any of those restrictions, like I said before, and also be very familiar with their donor management platform,
Mhm.
which are really like a CRM tool, like a
Yeah.
for-profit would have. Is like, how are you maintaining your donors? How are you communicating them when you're getting dollars in? How does that flow through? Like a lot of the other tools, there's timing things where you get things batched and things are together, and we want to make sure we're splitting out fees and corporate things away from individual donations or fundraising events and things like that. So just I've been a data geek for a long time, and there are a lot of these donor management tools that are better than others that can give you a lot of that based on this field. You can put it in the right place. So even trying to help them set those up on the front end is huge, that we know how to do it. We can give them some guidance. You need to put this in this field and add this field here to make sure on the back end we're getting this categorized right and making sure that it's flowing through your financials and all your reporting accurately.
I love it. Now, regarding software, typically industries, certain niches have particular general ledger type platforms that they prefer. Do you have a particular platform that you're utilizing that you found to be useful for nonprofits?
Yeah, we only use QuickBooks Online for their
Okay.
accounting side, and you can. There are other more specific nonprofit tools.
Mhm.
Arise is one, Blackbaud is another one, and those have some modules that can do some of the fundraising and donor management as
Mhm.
well. Um, but they are significantly more expensive,
Yep.
right? And nonprofits are typically not rolling in the dough for any of the
Cost
things,
sensitive. Yep.
right? Cost sensitive, right? And you, again, like I talked about earlier, getting efficient processes in with the tools that we use on bill pay and spend management, and even the donor information coming in. So many of these just directly have integrations and things that you can do with QuickBooks Online. It just makes it easier, more efficient, less chance for data to get broken along the way, as long as you set it up right and kind of validate that everything is still rolling right along right.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask an interesting question. I'm not sure if I'm going to ask it exactly right, so bear
Okay.
with me on this.
All right.
Typically, when you're a business, you have the luxury of being able to say, I'm going to focus on certain industries, or I'm going to focus on certain professions. And in doing so, you can exclude certain businesses that you're going to say, I'm not going to work with a bar. I don't want to work with someone that has a liquor license. And that could just be that moral thing. How do you actually, as you're in the nonprofit space, actually find clients that align with your personal values, where you can actually get excited about their mission and goal, and maybe turn away someone else where you're like, you know what, that's just one that I'm not actually interested in, although they are a nonprofit.
Yeah. And I've said many times that you could niche with sub niche within nonprofits at so many levels, right?
Yeah.
There's basic needs, there's humane societies, and foreign rights and all of that stuff, right? And culture is number one for me, right? Like I built this organization saying I'm moving away from this corporate culture of dog eat dog and 60 hours a week and all of that. Like, our time with our families for the whole team come first. We will not breach that at all, right? So, a lot of it is having the right input from your team and just sticking to your values. Like we said right away, we're not getting involved with anything political, and also nothing that is. We want to work with organizations that promote things, not try to take away or demote things, right? That they're positively promoting what they are passionate about, not trying to quash other things that may be passionate for other people. So there's that level. And then there's also the human level on it, right? We want to work with the people that value our services and also that have a culture that aligns with ours. And that's not always the case, right? Even with the nonprofit world, we are very blessed that 99% of the people we're working with are just positive and family oriented and so dedicated to just making a difference in the world, right? Where, and again, not that for-profit isn't, but I feel like there's a little more challenge there with people. And that just finding the right fit. I had just had a call today with my senior account manager, and we've had this client for a couple of years, and she's like, it's taxing. Every call is a battlefield, and they don't value us at all. And honestly, I'll be like, we weren't making a lot of money off them. I'm like, let's break it, right? Like, it's just not the right fit for us. It's not worth your stress to do this. So there's that aspect too that you just kind of easily manage and make sure you're heading in the right direction.
Very good. No, I like that, because you brought up culture fit. And I think that's important, because it's not just your culture, it's how it integrates well with their culture and their mission. But I want to come back to your culture.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're building an organization, you're building a team, and you've got your own culture that you're trying to develop. And you alluded to the importance of family and time. I'm curious, how did you come to define your culture, and how do you determine whether or not someone's going to be a good culture fit as you're hiring them?
Yeah, the hiring piece, I still feel like we're cracking that nut, right? Like get the feeling with people, and I used to hire back in my corporate job, and now I'm a little bit out of the hiring, but did the hiring a lot here internally. And I feel like you can never bat 1,000, and even some people you think that person's going to be amazing, down the road it may not be that way. But as far as establishing our culture, right, I did it collectively as a group. So we had our first kind of corporate retreat. It was 4 years ago, maybe at this point. And the first thing we did was, we need to have, like, what is our mission and culture, and really sat down. And it was my first time kind of being in that place as the leader in person with my team. We're all remote. And I felt like I was going to get crickets, and it was going to be me kind of just poking everybody the whole time. And it was the most amazing conversation.
Very
overall.
nice.
And everybody just kind of put out their heart and soul and what they were. And every year we've had, and again, this will be a fourth one this year, we've had something like that, where the next time we did, what's our vision, right? And how do we do that? The one that's after that, we really went to our perfect client avatar, right? Like, where are these people? What are their qualities to make sure they align with ours? So having those soft skills and just reiterating it, I think, is super important, but you got to live it everywhere. So, like, on our website, on our job postings, all of that. We have our mission, we have our vision, we have that all right away. We very much stress that like this is a flexible work environment, but there's a responsibility that comes with that. Do things when you need to do them, but they need to get done, and all that. So it's a delicate balance, but it's just been amazing. And again, the polar opposite of what I experienced in the cutthroat for-profit world when I was there.
Cutthroat. Okay. Well, one of the things that you described there is envious of me, or I'm envious of it, I should say. The thing that I'd like to point out is you spoke of a culture where you got together and they were contributors. So often I run into situations where I'm looking for contributions and I go to the individuals and it's crickets, like you described. They are in a job mindset. I'm just here to do a job. Leave me alone. I just want to work. And you're trying to actually say, but no, how can we do this differently or better? How can we actually make this a more thriving organization? And sometimes they're like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I just came here to work. So how do you feel you actually got to that point? What do you feel enabled you to find either the individuals or maybe brought that out of those people?
Yeah, and I feel like it's a journey for everyone. Like some people come in and they're just there, right? And other ones you need to kind of massage it and reiterate like and a lot of what I do is pronouns, right? Like come back and say like they are doing this. Even when we have consultation calls for sales things, we say we want to be part of your team and start using our and we are doing that. We do that internally as well. Like, hey, they aren't doing very well here, and I'll be like, no, we are not doing very well here, right? And just try to get that and reiterate it in every single time. So I correct pronouns more often probably than everybody would love to hear, but it's something that came very naturally to me. I think there was a second part, and I lost it when I was talking through that piece.
No,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think that like but it also depends on the person, right? There are people who, like I said, who come in who are 100% bought in right away, and there are other people who are fantastic members of our team that's just not their thing either, right? Like we're really big on Slack and we do a whole bunch of fun things in there. We play games. We have a water cooler channel where we want to see pictures of your kids. And, hey, I went and did my daughter graduated last night, or I went to this cool show. I want to share all of that stuff. We have weekly meetings where the first half an hour is us just sharing what happened over the weekend or what's going on, because I care about these people as people and I want to know about that. But some people, that's not their jam either. But if they're an amazing person and love their job and contribute and do all the right things, I'm not going to shun them for that either, right? And then we're going to like accept them for the people that they are. I just like the people who really get in there and buy in and are super active in all of the things that we do. That makes me really excited.
I like that. No, the fact that you actually care and you're interested in them and created a platform where they could actually share who they are, that's wonderful. I like that. Now, as to the pronouns, that was powerful. I thought that was really good because clearly there's this idea of partnership. To what level the client actually sees you as contributing to their success. That's interesting. But in the vocabulary, the communications that you're having, to be able to say what we're doing together, those types of pronouns can make a difference as to how they are seeing you and how you see them and how you interact. So I appreciated that. That was a great insight.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to get into is you've built an organization, and a lot of times as owners, we don't have the foresight to say, what's the end goal of all this, beginning with the end in mind. Generally, it's going to be, I'm going to work, maybe one day I'll do something such as exit. Have you put any thought to what your exit plan is for your business?
Not as much as I should have, honestly. I really want to retire when I'm 50, which is much closer than I would like to think it is. And I don't know what that looks like, if it's me still staying in some capacity just as oversight and leadership and working through hard things. Or if that's, I've thought through like, do you find an investor and kind of bring them in and to take it over? Or is it something where I'd have somebody on the team, or you can do some kind of employee buyout thing as well? I'm open to any of those right now. But I don't know what that looks like. My one thing that I kind of have is this pipe dream. And when I'm 50, I picked that because both of my kids should be in college or out of my house, hopefully. And that might take a little bit of shoving, but they'll be gentle shoves. Don't you worry. But I would love to go around and just like travel the country and visit our clients and other nonprofits and just volunteer for them. And as a hopefully astute accountant, like we could record these and put them as marketing materials. And then the travel is also a business expense. So I'm trying to be a little shrewd about it too. But I feel like that would be great because I love going out there and getting out in the community, we try to do that at least once a year. We give the employees a year that they can go volunteer and get paid for and all of that. We want to give back in all the right ways. And I just think that would be a great way to kind of stay involved, get our name out there more, but also be able to give back, be part of other organizations' missions, and just, again, have fun while doing it.
I love what you're doing, and the fact that you're able to tie that little community or that little feature in there to let it be a tax write-off is very key. No, keep that in mind. That's very good.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm going to go back to when you were starting the business. You spoke of your spouse, your wife, actually saying, what in the world? What has her support enabled you to accomplish? What are you grateful for her kind of seeing within you the potential and supporting you along that way?
All the way. So yeah, she was extremely skeptical to start out with, but I definitely went from a 55 to 60 hour a week accounting job to a 60 to 65 hour more business owner, right?
Yeah.
Initially. And there are still weeks where we have that, right? And she's just super supportive that she understands, when it's, hey, get all the things done and she's winding down for the day, I got to come back to the office and kind of work through a whole bunch of things, right? But also appreciates that, there's nobody that tells me what to do, right? If my kids have a field trip or if they have a sporting event, my son just had a gymnastics meet last Friday, I'm gone for the day, right? Nobody's gonna tell me I can't do that. I'm just tell the team, hey, I'm not gonna be there, and just go and do it. So her support has been amazing. Also, again, just her knowing the nonprofit world, like I said, has been super helpful. So there's things that we can bounce off each other, even if she's struggling something with her information or I am. Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a village and a team all together, and I think my kids understand it too. They, we're really trying to. We're nationwide and very much remote in all the ways, but we're building a really good base of nonprofits and knowledge of us in our local community, and so they think it's weird sometimes that people realize Dad and his company and things like that, and be like, Dad, maybe you're kind of a big deal. And I'm like, no, I'm not a big deal yet, but I'm trying, buddy. We're trying to get there.
You're good. You're a big deal, Jeremy. You're good. So I find that a lot of people who are successful do have that type of support behind them as to what it is that allows them to kind of get that boost of support in the sense of when times are difficult. Is there somebody saying that I believe in you, I trust you, keep going? That kind of thing is actually reassuring. And so I'm grateful that you've got that type of support for yourself. Now, as it relates to your business, I'm curious, have you worked with a coach, a mentor, someone that's actually been instrumental in helping you? And if so, what was some of that takeaway from that interaction that's enabled you to actually take and apply that in business successfully?
Yeah, I actually have never taken a formal coach on, I don't think, in any role in my life. And that probably is to my detriment at some level, but I like the sweat equity of figuring things out and failing probably more than I should if I did have a coach in there, but working through that, I feel like that has built a ton of character and helped out overall. But just having a network of other business owners. So we talked about like the support of my wife. That is fantastic. But there are just things as an entrepreneur business owner that she will not even understand. So building that network or your tribe of people behind that, as you talked about, Tyler is one of that. I know you had Kirsten on your show, and she's fantastic. She is one of my closest BFFs as well. But just having those people who are, close or similar to the same spot where you are at, and just talk through all of the challenges, bounce things off of each other, share great ideas, right? And I'd say, I've made 50 or 60% of my significant jumps as an organization is because I stole somebody else's idea. And all of those people in there will probably say the same thing, is like, hey, I didn't know this. It came from somebody else. So working through with other smart individuals has been my coaching, for lack of a formal one.
Well, that's the thing I was alluding to. It wasn't so much it was a formal relationship with perhaps a coach you were paying for, but the mentoring that you've been receiving from these different individuals that are in a peer situation is phenomenal, because you get to each feed off of one another's success, learn from each other. And honestly, because you're in different markets, there's not a real sense of competition. It's not like I need to be really close vested about this. I can share it and divulge and maybe help somebody else with the things that I've learned. And in that tight knit group, you're able to assist one another. And like you indicated, with Kirsten, you're able to become, BFFs. And so that kind of support is, I think, sometimes undervalued or unrecognized, but yet so essential to individuals being successful, because it can be alone at the top. It can be isolated. And if you've got these types of support networks, it can be very, very supportive. So I'm glad you're able to share that. Now, the next thing is with regards to your business, what do you do to recharge, reset? Is there something that you find is very helpful to you to kind of step away from the business and, more importantly, kind of re-energize as you, personally and professionally?
Yeah, I need to do more of that. Yeah, I mean, coming
I was
coming out of
thinking karaoke was going to come up, by the way. So
yeah,
keep going.
it was fan. Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's a hard thing to reflect on in the first 6 weeks of the year, right? So we don't do tax filings, right? We partner out our 990 filings, which is the nonprofit one. But again, just trying to get through 1099 season and year end, and then rolling things over for the next year in the first couple of weeks of February. There's not a lot of stepping away, right? There's just a lot of like, it's go time. Let's get things done. This is the first year, and I realize that's taxing for everyone. That I told everyone on my team over the next 2 weeks, take a mental health day. Here's another day of PTO. Put it in. I realized what we had to do over the last 6 weeks and value that. To me, it is really like, one is that retreat, right? Like just getting together in person, as much as we try to connect in all the right ways and make it as formal and informal as possible with our team, getting to see each other person and talk through things together. And then, through the mornings that we're there, and then in the evenings, just play games and, go out to a bar one night or go see a show or whatever it is, right? And just connect at a different level. That recharges me. That's probably the biggest moment. Is I've historically gotten to those, almost the last one as a retreat, which probably isn't a good leadership skill, but flights, what can you do, right? But like just going in there and walking to the room with 12 to 15 people and just seeing them all just smiling and having fun and connecting, like that has been the biggest thing. That like, wow, we're really building something amazing here, and that really recharges the batteries. And outside of that, it's just kind of getting out with the family, right? Like we like to camp and unplug for a few weeks each year and get out there and get into nature, and definitely glamp, not camp. We're not out in the middle of a national park anywhere with a tent, but yeah, just try to unplug for a little bit and realize like, why did I start to do this in the first place? Was to bring us 4 people as a family together and be able to success.
Very good. Well, you answered my question, so be comforted in knowing you did answer it. So the question I want to ask now is regarding your 2 boys.
Yeah.
What do you think they take from watching you run your business and be the success that you are? What do you hope they're learning?
Dad's crazy. I remember, so I grew up on a dairy farm, right? And much to my detriment there, I didn't have a lot of free time, right? You had a little bit here, but you were going out milking cows at 5 a.m, and in the summer baling hay until sundown, right? And that built a great work ethic, which I did not appreciate then, but I do now. So I feel like they can get that for me, right? Is that like, wow, Dad is pretty dedicated and works pretty hard. But I also feel like, especially since walking away from my corporate job, knowing that Dad will always be there for me if I need him to, right? So like every morning I drive them to school, every night I pick them up from school, other than when my wife can, right? But it's 90% of the times I'm doing that because I enjoy that time with them.
Yeah.
They are both, like I said, in club sports, soccer and gymnastics. So every night we are taxiing them to practices and back, and to meets and to games and all of that. So I think that has been it. And just also not to be afraid to make big, hard decisions. And I don't try to hide things from them. Like with people, we had to let somebody go the other day, and like they saw it in my face that morning and were like, Dad, what's wrong? And I'm like, well, I got to let somebody in my team go. And I've never not had an employee that I haven't liked as a person. But I feel like even if that was the case, that never gets easier. It is so taxing. Afterwards, I need to like shut everything down and go for a walk and clear my brain just to mentally right myself. So I think just showing those emotions and realizing that things are hard, but it's okay to do hard things.
Yeah. Well, I think those lessons that they're learning, observing you, are going to be powerful, and especially the support of you being there, around and available. That's huge. As a father, to be able to influence your sons those, that way is wonderful. The next question I wanted to ask is in relation to karaoke. What's your favorite?
Ooh, what's my
What do you
go-to?
sing? What's your go-to?
Ooh, go-to. I like some Black Crows. So I mentioned Kirsten. We were on a cruise together for her 50th birthday, and they had live band karaoke,
Yeah.
and that was on their set list. And I could not have been more excited because I could knock that one out. So that's typically my go-to. But I also like. I'm not a ballad guy because I feel like a Debbie Downer's the room, but just like fun, poppy rock songs, right? That can get people up and dancing. That's my jam.
All right. I like it. Well,
Yeah,
karaoke, go to it. That's one of those things that not everyone can do well. So good job on your part.
yeah, thanks.
The last thing I wanted to
Yeah.
really kind of dive into is as it relates to your business is what's something that you were surprised by coming out of the corporate world into that entrepreneurial space that you learned from and that you feel is a lesson learned? Meaning, if
Yeah.
you could go back to your younger self and give some advice, what is it that you would point out as being be prepared for this?
Two things I want to take that, and let's hope I remember both of them. Is like the one is everything that is worth doing is hard, right? You do not get any growth doing the same things over and over and the easy things. And I tell my team that a lot. I can play any role from you. There's a good chance I'm not any more comfortable doing it than you are, but I just have more experience doing it at this point.
Yeah.
And now I said I wasn't going to forget the other thing. Oh, the other thing was like, so I was a corporate accountant. I was a credit manager. I worked in banking. I did procurement analysis on things. I was never a bookkeeper though. So
Hmm.
like I thought I was a pretty hot shot and I'm like I'm going to do this bookkeeping stuff and they're so like in a corporate world you get so like siloed into like I'm looking at our rebate program or I'm trying to find cost savings in something. You don't pay bills, right? You don't
Mhm.
collect on things. So there's so much more of like day-to-day operational small business or nonprofit things that need to happen that you don't know as an accountant
Yeah.
until you start doing it. And that to me has been a something I did wrong hiring right away is like, oh, I got this really smart accountant. That's great, right? They can do it. Well, then you get the problem that either they don't know the bookkeeping side or they can't multitask different clients, right? Because you're always worried about this one, that's your job. I can do this things. So I've been trying to be a better job of identifying that skill set where you actually know the transactional and can handle multiple clients and switching those hats really often.
Oh, I love what you just said
Yeah.
because one of the things that's very important is accounting is more than just debits and credits. I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
not so much, this balancing of everything. It truly is the ability to communicate to the client. It's helping them understand what the numbers mean, but even more importantly, it's the narrative what the accounting is trying to share. It's this. There's a story there, and it's if
Mhm.
it's something that you can articulate well, then it goes over well with your clients, and they see value in what it is you're doing. Otherwise, they just don't see and appreciate what the work is. So I really think that it's much more than just the skill of being able to balance the balance sheet. So, yeah, well said on your part.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to wrap this up. And as
Yeah.
I do so, I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. For my listeners, I do want to invite you, if you're interested, you can definitely find out more about Jeremy and his company, what they do as it relates to nonprofit services. Clearly, if you've got a nonprofit that could benefit from his services, feel free to send him his way. But I'd like you to go to the episode description. You'll find Jeremy's contact information there, and you can definitely reach out and say hello. As it relates to nonprofits, Universal Accounting Center does have a program designed to actually help teach bookkeeping as it relates to nonprofits. It's a program called the Professional Bookkeeper Program. In there, we cover 11 industries, the specific nuances of what the books of accounting look like for those different industries. And it's in those nuances that you become very comfortable and confident in your ability to actually niche into each of those services and focus on them if you so choose. And so definitely check out becoming a certified professional bookkeeper. More information in the episode description. It's there that you can actually certify your skills and better service the accounting needs of your clients being a certified person in the accounting of small businesses. Definitely check out that. The other thing I want to encourage you to look at is what's called the turnkey business plan for accounting professionals. It is actually the turnkey business plan for accounting firms to go out there and offer quality accounting services. It's where you can actually specialize in not just the bookkeeping accounting, but the tax planning and preparation, as well as the CFO and advisory services. If that's what you'd like to do and build, in fact, the premier accounting firm in your area, check out the Turnkey Business Plan. And then lastly, if you'd like to read a book, the book I'd recommend is Your Strategic Accountant. It goes into what is it that those businesses need from the accounting profession, what they're willing to pay you for. And if you wish to become the premier accounting firm, this is a must read, is to understand what it is you can be doing to actually have those services in line for your clients to be happy with what it is you're providing. So check out those 3 free offers that are available in the episode description. As for the show, this has been a great conversation. Every time I speak with someone that has actually transitioned from the corporate world and started their business, I think that story is so important. Just basically hearing Jeremy share how he had that exit plan, that opportunity, that tin parachute, if you will. Well, he took that and actually started his business, but he did so with the begrudgings of his wife, but yet the support. With that little bit of a runway, he was able to take what he was now supplementing his income with to becoming a primary income. And he's done so successfully. We talked about niching with the whole idea of getting into a specific industry, the values of what nonprofit accounting is. We gave some nuances of what is different about nonprofit accounting. I thought that was very insightful just for my listeners to help you each understand that there are particular things that do differ industry to industry, and to hear those I think is very valuable. The other thing we talked about was culture, not just the culture fit that we have within our own companies, but how it aligns with our clients. And being that he was working with nonprofits, it's nice to actually get involved with their missions and feel that what you're doing is contributing to that. That's one of the things that's valuable. But when going back to your own culture, it's getting that idea of how do we help them actually feel like they're part of a bigger picture. And one of the things that he addressed was the pronouns, using the pronouns to speak of what we're doing together and what are we doing to help our clients and how are we together making a difference. It's that collectiveness that I think instills in the organization this idea of it's not just us and them, it's us as a whole. The other thing that was very valuable is he was able to have with his retreat the opportunity to get together and involve his team in contributing to what the culture is, and not just having them see themselves as cogs in a wheel, not just worker bees or just doing a job, but actually contributing to the organization as a whole. And that's very important. He mentioned how he uses Slack to get to know them on a personal level. And each week has a period of time set aside to actually have everyone share what they've done over the weekend, share family pictures and so forth. I think that's fun. It keeps everybody in a personable mindset so that everyone sees each other, not just as fellow colleagues, but other fellow human beings. The last thing that I thought was valuable is the insights as it related to his family. The fact that he's built a company that affords him the opportunity to be with his sons, take time off when needed, and allows them to actually be inspired by their father, to see that he's making hard decisions and that he does do the difficult things for his family. So those things I think are very valuable. And even though I asked the questions and he didn't see it coming, he did answer it. He does recharge himself well. And one of his go-tos is karaoke. It was nice to hear what that sounded like. But the last thing I'll point out is the value of a mentor group, having a group of individuals with whom you can associate, people that you can actually see as peers and kind of bolster one another up. And I like that part of the conversation as well. So lots of good takeaways from the conversation today. Jeremy, what is your final thought?
Yeah, I think the final thought to me is like, if you're going to go down this path, the business needs to be an extension of you. Do not belittle or marginalize any of your thoughts, your emotions, your typical actions. I know in my role, I was wearing suits and things like that, or button up stuff all the time. I hated it. So very casual, very friendly with all the things. And that's again, you just need to make the business an extension of you and your personal values and culture.
I like it. It's back to that authentic type thing. Just be you.
Yeah.
So, and people are drawn to that. They're actually you're going to resonate with certain individuals and you're going to draw like-minded people. So that's very important to understand. So I like that. All right. So for me to wrap this up, one of the things that I want to do is, first of all, invite you, the listener, if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please do subscribe, set your notifications. We release an episode each and every week. It's in these episodes that we have the experts on to share with us insights as it relates to building the premier accounting firm, various things such as what we've experienced here today with Jeremy. Definitely set your reminders, listen to the episodes each and every week. As for the past episodes, we invite you to go to universalaccounting.com. At universalaccounting.com, you can find in the navigation podcast episodes where we've collected the highlights. These are playlists that we've compiled of various topics that might be relevant to your current situation. So if you'd like to find out more about marketing, selling, tech stacks, training staff, onboarding staff, retaining staff, mental health, just a variety of topics that you can dive deep into, check that out. You can definitely go to the episode description sections, or excuse me, the site navigation, and there find the highlight sections where we have all these playlists compiled. In addition to that, I want to invite you to GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual conference for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. It's here at the conference that you do get to meet your peers. You do get to find those individuals that you can be mentored by. It's there that you can find these groups that you're needing to actually bolster yourself up, because they do understand and know what you're going through, because like you, they're striving, they're thriving in their business as it relates to having a successful bookkeeping, accounting, and tax business. You need to meet them. In addition, at the conference, clearly we have the experts on the stage, panelists, discussions, topics that are addressed that help us actually build the premier accounting firm. These are topics ranging from marketing and sales, growing the business, accounting services, what you can actually do to meet the needs of your clients, and then working efficiently and profitably, things that you need to be knowing that are best practices so that you can actually implement them in your firm and do so profitably. Definitely come to GrowCon. If you don't have your ticket yet, register now. You can go to universalaccounting.com and there in the navigation, find GrowCon and get your ticket today. As it relates to GrowCon, also understand this. You can come and meet my staff, those individuals that are committed to helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So join us for GrowCon, and I look forward to seeing you there. As for these topics and other conversation points, if you'd like to actually learn more about what you can be doing to build the premier accounting firm in your area, check out Universal Accounting School. It's there that we have the training, the programs, the certification, the coaching and support that you need in order to offer the quality accounting services that your clients are willing to pay for and do so profitably. So check out Universal Accounting School or give us a phone call, 801-265-3777. And always remember this, accounting success is universal. Take care, be safe out there, and have a great day. Jeremy, that was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it, sir. You're good job at this. Like the whole summary at the end. That's fantastic. Wow.
Thank you. I'm listening.
Yeah.
I am
would have
listening.
forgot all that stuff.
Yeah, that was very good. All right. So here's
Yeah.
what I'm going to have you do. Go to the
Okay.
little chat.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's that script that I'm going to have you use to do the promo piece.
Okay. Let me rewind. Okay. All right. This is Jeremy. It was fantastic to record with Roger today on building the premier accounting firm. We discussed so many amazing topics, including how important it is to build the culture and really be true to yourself, as well as how to successfully transition from the corporate world and into a business where you are the end all be all, working through everything yourself. It was such an amazing time.
Perfect. All right. So, Jeremy,
Yeah.